Children, welcome to the computer class. Let's start the chapter number 6, and the chapter name is iteration through loop. So children, this is a very important topic for the board examination. So in this chapter we will be learning about different types of loops. Okay, means while loop, do while loop, and a for loop. So let's start the chapter. So my first topic is loop. So we will discuss program using the conditional repetitive type of flow. So this type of programming is known as a loop. Okay. So after completion of the stated task, it would check whether the given conditions become true or false. So depending upon the result, it would either repeat the task again or stop the execution. So this type of programming is known as a loop type programming. Okay. So basically, there are three types of loops are used in Java. Okay. While loop, the name is while, do while, and a for loop. Okay. So now the first question is, what is the difference between for and while loop? Okay. So children, you know that the for and while both are entry control loop. Okay, entry control loop means it's check the condition before the execution. Okay, I'm repeating again, it's check the condition before the executions. So for loop and a while loop both are entry control loop. Okay. Now the second question is, what is the difference between do while and while loop? And this is a very important topic. Okay. Do while and a while loop. So you know that children, the do while loop, it is a exit control loop. Okay. Exit control loop, and for loop is the entry control loop. Okay, exit control loop means it's check the condition, okay, after the execution of the body. Okay, so now we will be discussing about syntax of a different types of loops. So first loop is for loop. Okay, so for loop, the syntax for loop is for initial text condition, step value means increment or a decrement, and the body of loop. Okay, so this is the basic syntax for a for loop. Now I am taking one program on a for loop. So first program is write a program. Suppose that I am giving the one program, write a program to display 10 natural numbers from 1 to 10 using a for loop. Okay, so how to write the program? So in step number 1, create the class. So class name is, for example, natural public static void main. This is my main class. Now I am write the loop, okay, for the natural number. So for int I is equal to int I is equal to 1. Okay, children. So this is a syntax of a for loop. For loop means in step number 1, we use the keyword for. Now the initial value, it is also known as initialization, test condition, step value means it is an increment or a decrement part. And this is a loop of a body. Okay. So this is a syntax for a for loop. And the syntax for while loop is initialization, while, condition, okay, body of loop, and increment or a decrement. Okay, this is a syntax for a while loop. And the do while loop, do body of loop and while here. Okay. So now the question is कि what is the difference between while and a do while loop? Okay children, this is a very simple question कि what is the difference between while and do while loop? So while loop, it is a entry control loop. Okay, entry control loop, and do while is a exit control loop. Okay, so the difference between entry control loop and the exit control loop is कि entry control loop check the condition before the execution. Okay. Check the condition before the execution, and the exit control loop check the condition after the execution of a body. And the example for entry control loop is for and a while loop, and exit control loop do while loop. Okay. Now the different types of for loops. Okay, so first one is a null loop or a bodiless loop. Okay, so as the name suggests, bodiless loop means which does not include any statement in the body of loop is called a null loop or a empty loop. Okay, for example, for a is equal to 1, a less than equal to 10, a plus plus. So here the semicolon represent that after closing bracket in a for loop indicate the loop does not execute any statement under it. Right? So this type of loop is known as a bodiless loop. Now the next loop is infinite loop. So as the name suggests, infinite loop which will never end the help of a for loop. Okay, so such type of loop is called an infinite loop or a endless loop. Okay, look at this example. So in this example, for m is equal to 1, m less than equal to 10 and the body of loop. So here the condition is missing, increment or decrement is a missing. So this is a endless loop or a infinite loop, right? Now the nested loop means nested loop means a loop within another loop is known as a nested loop. So sometimes it is required to construct such loop. So it can be applied when the internal loop repeat for a given number of times for each iteration of the external loops. So nested loop may be designed using the while, do while or a for statement. Okay. So look at this syntax for a nested loop. So starting of a loop 1, it is external loop. First loop is known as external loop, and starting of loop 2, it is known as a internal loop. External loop, it is also known as a represent the rows value, and the internal loop represent the column values. Clear? Yes. Now the next one is break and a continue statement. Break and a continue. So break and a continue both are known as a jump statements. Okay, jump statement. So why we use the break statement in our programs? So sometimes it may be needed to stop a loop suddenly when a condition is satisfied. So this can be done with the help of a break statements. So a break statement is used for unusual termination of a loop. Okay, look at this example for a break statement. So we are using for loop. For loop means the initial value, test condition and the step value. Okay, and this is the condition after that loop if another condition is true. If this condition is true, it means the loop will be break. Okay, and the loop out of the loop block. And the continue statement continue the iteration, okay, from the starting point. So I hope you understand what do you mean by loop. I'm repeating again, loop, it is a repetitive structure. How many types? There are two types, entry control and exit control loop. Entry control loop check the condition before the execution. Exit control loop check the condition, entry control loop check the condition before the execution, yes, and the exit control loop check the condition after the execution. Example for entry control loop is for and a while loop, and the exit control loop is a do while loop. So I hope you understand what is the loop and the different types of loops are used in Java. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you.